Is networking really important for the success of a business? Today, we are joined by someone who has mastered the art of building impactful connections. Bijay Shah, the master franchisee of Business Network International in UAE, a globally renowned organization founded by Dr. Ivan Misna. Bijay has spent the last 2 decades bringing BNI's philosophy of giver's gain to life in this region. With a background in finance from the University of Wales and Cass Business School, Bijay's journey took a transformative turn when he introduced the BNI franchisee to the UAE in 2005. Since then, he has expanded its reach to Kenya, Uganda, and Qatar, fostering a network of over 1,400 businesses that exchange millions of referrals each year. In this episode, we'll discuss the challenges Bijay faced in adapting BNI's global model to UAE's unique business culture, his vision for the future of networking, and practical advice for entrepreneurs looking to understand how to harness the power of strategic connections. Bijay, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Namita. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on your podcast.
Same here. It's an honor to have you on our show. When I was researching about you for the episode, you have quite a lot of good education. I mean, you have studied banking, retail, insurance, and you've with some amazing big universities, big names like Cass Business School.
It's now Bayes Business School. They changed. It's City University, so they've recently changed it to Bayes Business School.
I didn't know about that. So you never were an entrepreneur. And above all, you never ever attended a BNI meeting before you started to suddenly bring BNI to UAE. Would love to know your journey. How did you start this? How did you think of this, actually?
Look, I've never been an entrepreneur per se, but I come from an entrepreneurial family.
Okay.
And I always wanted to do my own thing. Finance was something that I always had an interest in, so I pursued my qualifications in finance.
Mm-hmm.
Right from the time that I used to play Monopoly at the age of 9 or 10, my favorite board game was Monopoly.
Mine still. We still play every weekend at least 2 times, and I have to win.
Yeah, absolutely. You declare that I'm going to win this, otherwise I'm not playing. So I was very interested in numbers and all of that. So when I did my higher education, I did my master's also in shipping, trade, and finance. I actually wanted to go into investment banking, but unfortunately didn't make it. In those days, so born and raised in Kenya, and having a Kenyan passport had limited opportunities in those days. So ended up, my first job was in retail banking. And then I had the opportunity to get into insurance. Now, that wasn't something that I was looking for. It wasn't the sexy end of finance when you talk about insurance. But a really good mentor and uncle of mine said, listen, there is an opportunity. There's somebody who has been running this for 50 years, servicing family businesses. He wants to retire. Would you be interested? And my initial response was no. And he said, look, have a look, check it out. And I did. And I saw that, the setup was quite stable. It was very organized. And it was an opportunity for me to run my own business. So I got together with a couple of friends and I said, hey guys, would you be interested in doing this together?
The insurance business.
Yeah, so it was insurance broking.
Brokerage, yeah.
I never saw myself going into insurance brokerage.
Yeah.
But we did, and we had 100% retention. So these are all family businesses. These are, family businesses back in Kenya. And my goal was, so we're already providing a service, which is insurance for all of their, business needs. Now, these are the people who are wealthy, of course. They have wealth. They've built it up. What other service can we offer them? And that's where the whole thing about, financial advisory, wealth management would come in, right?
So started using your education.
Correct.
In
so
I
then, affiliated with a couple of guys from the UK and the Channel Islands, and they would come in and service these clients.
Okay.
So that was the start of getting to know more about that industry, actually practicing. And
So the insurance brokerage already had client base.
Yeah.
That when you took over, did you have to get more clients and grow it further?
we did. Obviously, you want to grow a business like any other. But for me, it was like, okay, if you want to grow a business, there are if anybody's listening to this, simple, business 101, right? How do you grow a business? You get more clients, or you already have your clients and you sell more to them, or the value, your basket value that they're buying from you
goes up and up.
Those are the three basic things, right? So one of the strategies was, okay, in addition to, and you apply all three, of course. So what other value add could we give these clients? We already had a ready client base.
That's when the finance model came in, financial help. Okay.
And that's what piqued my interest in that further. But unfortunately, in 1998, that was actually the year I got married. So Anna and I do this, my wife Anuradha, we've been doing BNI together. We had just gotten married, and in those days, again, if anybody remembers, we had the embassy bombings that took place in Nairobi. So she said to me, and she's also from Kenya, but she said, I don't really see myself living here, in terms of safety and all the political risks and everything else. So we made a choice to move to the UK. Although, it took us about 2 years. So 2001, we made a move to the UK. And she was a pharmacist. It was easy for us, secure a job, got into it. And for me, it was like, okay, what am I going to do? I had the business back in Nairobi. I had my partners. But now if I was going to be in the UK, I would need to find something meaningful. And I landed up with an opportunity with an American stockbroker in Canary Wharf. And, I joined them. I had to do my chartered financial qualifications.
Okay.
And in that journey, a lot of my peers were members of BNI. And they would say, Bijay, if you want to be successful here, if you want to grow this, it's going to have to be through the networking. And BNI is a great place to be. And I was like, what is this BNI thing? And they're like, yeah, it's morning meetings, turn up there's a group of people, and you network and you help each other. And I was like, okay. So that's how I actually started my journey. I visited one of these chapter meetings. And the moment I walked in the room, 6:30 in the morning, it was a dark October morning,
UK, it's anyway dark in winter.
And they were meeting in a pub in those days. So I walked in there, and the energy was something, and I was like, wow. And everybody was so friendly. And I said, okay, this is... So before the meeting even began, subconsciously, I knew that I wanted to be part of something like this. At the end of the meeting, I said, okay, where do I sign? How do I become part of this? And they said, well, we only allow one person in any business category to be part of this, and unfortunately, we already have your category taken up. I said, well, I haven't seen anybody. They said, well, he's not here today, but sorry, we can't have you in. And I was, okay, how do I become part of this? I believe there might be other groups. And they said, yeah, they gave me a couple of references. They said, check out this other group, which is not very far from here. So I ended up in the other group a few weeks later, same story. And, in those days, we never had social media, we obviously emails.
Yeah.
And it was not easy to find out whether, there was a vacancy for a group or not. It was purely word of mouth. So I said to them, okay, how do I become part of this? And they said, well, they gave me a number of the office in London, which was running this. And I called them and I said, I'm really keen to be part of this. And they said, well, right now we don't have a vacancy. This is the hottest seat. But let me take your details down. And there are two ways you can become part of this. Either you can wait for a vacancy, or, if you start a new group, you can be one of those founding members. And I said, yeah, I'm not going to wait around. How do I become part of that? And they said, okay, somebody will call you. That's it.
Okay.
A few weeks went by. Didn't hear from them. I called them. And they said, no, it doesn't work like that. We got to find somebody. Now, later I found out that, the infrastructure was not ready to support additional groups for where I wanted to do this. And then I just forgot about the whole thing. Life continues. You get on with other things. I didn't even know that this was a global organization at that time. Fast forward 2004, Anuradha and myself find ourselves in Dubai. We were looking at opportunities here. You know, as much as we made the choice to move there, I didn't see myself living
In the UK.
there for the entire, you know, I was like, the weather, the space, you know, having grown up in Africa. Dubai, there were a lot of things happening, and I'd say to her, I said, listen, let's just check out, you know, and she was like, no.
I think Burj Khalifa was announced, and they had started
So you had all
marketing
these
and
announcements.
promoting it. Yeah.
You know, you've been here
since
you know.
2000, so I
So
remember.
Anuradha was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm happy with my job, and I don't go to a new place. But, you know, we'd been to Dubai on holiday a number of times, right? And when you're on holiday, obviously the lens is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, look, you do like Dubai. Why don't we go there and let's just, before we make a decision, let's just go for a couple of weeks. We'll put on a different lens just to see what it would be like. And she was like, okay, you know, we'll make a holiday out of it, but we'll see whether there's opportunities. While we're here, I get a call from the BNI office. Now, they don't know I'm traveling, so I've got my roaming on. The lady says, this is, I can't remember her name. She said, so-and-so from BNI speaking, and we have a chapter meeting we'd like to invite you to. I'm like, where are you calling from? Sorry. And she said, BNI. And I'm like, what is BNI? I'd forgotten about it. She said, we have your name down here. And I said, yeah, of course. He said, early morning, 6:30. I said, yeah. And she said, well, we're starting a group and we'd like to invite you. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I just said yes. And then I was thinking, okay, hold on.
But you had already moved to Dubai, but
No.
you were still on holiday
We're
here.
still
Okay.
deciding.
Okay.
But now, as we're looking at the opportunities here, I was like, okay, if I move here, I'm going to have to network. Maybe I need to join a BNI here. I thought it's like one of these, Lions or Kibanis, one of these community service organizations. So I looked it up, and there was no BNI in Dubai. So, a few weeks later when I went back, I went to that meeting, I met people, but now I was curious to know, how does one start this in a different country? And that's what I did. I asked a lot of questions. I got to know more about the organization. In those days, I think we were in 30 countries or 28 countries, and we were country number 29 or 30. But that's how it started. I ended up getting on a phone with Dr. Ivan Meisner, who was the founder at in those days. He was running the operations, and he said, yeah, we'll be interested. We'll be happy to start this. He had no idea about the geography of this area.
Region.
Neither did I. I only knew Dubai, and a lot of people mistake Dubai for a country, right?
Yeah.
So I said, look, I want to start a chapter here. He said, yeah, okay. It's a franchise. I'm like, what is a franchise? So he explained me all of that, and I said, okay, I'll take the franchise for Dubai. He said, no, we go out a country franchise.
So before you were thinking of having BNI as franchise, this came because you got a call. Before that, what you and Anuradha were thinking of doing here?
No, so I was going to be taken on by a financial advisory out here.
Right.
And Anuradha was going to take a step back, and we were looking at starting a family, and I said this would be a great opportunity for her to put her feet up and basically... Right. So, and we didn't have a long-term plan. We were like, okay,
let's
see how it
explore
goes.
the region. Okay.
So this came along, and I went to my boss at that time. I just started out. I'd been a few months, and I said to him, I said, listen, would it be okay if I also did this as a side hustle? Are you okay with it? Because the visa was under him, of course. And it was a self-employed position where, I'd be only remunerated based on my performance. So it was kind of self-employed. And he was very supportive. He said, yeah. And I said, this is going to help me get more clients into the whole networking. And he said, yeah, by all means. So it started purely as a side hustle. Long story short, we ended up launching our first chapter. And it was, I would say there were some challenges, different culture. 6 in the morning, everybody's like, nobody's going to come up that early.
Yeah.
But I was just convinced that this will work. And, for every 10 people I spoke to, 9 of them said, no, we don't need this over here. But I was looking for that one person to say, yeah, I'll be interested. So we ended up launching a chapter. And then once the first chapter was launched, and I would attend the meetings, supporting them and all of that, what I started seeing at each meeting, at each interaction with members, how fulfilling and rewarding it was for them, not purely from business, but also how it helped them in so many other ways. And that was very rewarding for me to see that this was making a difference in people's livelihoods. So a few months later, I said to Anuradha, I said, listen, I think I want to do this full time. And she was like, you're crazy. You know, have you done the financials? Have you done the numbers? I said, yeah, this can work.
If you have, when can it work?
So, you know, I calculated, I said, okay, we probably need about 300 members.
For it to be
worth a while to do this like full time. So I did simple mathematics and I said, okay, we'll launch about 10 chapters. We'll have, in those days, our chapters were only about 25, 30 members. And it'll take us a couple of years to do that. And she was like, okay, if you're confident, fine.
Yeah.
And I said, will you help me in all the admin side of things? Because that, you know, I'm not in my flame now.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, I got free time, I'll do that. So we started the journey that way. And I really hadn't put up a proper business plan. The numbers, you know, from a franchise perspective, they didn't even do their full due diligence. So we were very lucky because, you know, all they required is that we pay our franchise fee and we get up with it. I was lucky to get some great mentors from different parts of the world and, you know, they all supported us. And that's the whole philosophy of the organization. Everybody helps each other. So that's how we started our journey.
There's a lot of coaching and training element in the structure of BNI. Did you get certified coach, or did they invest in your education, or?
A lot of people ask me that. You know, they talk about coaching. So because it's all about relationships,
Correct.
It's a people organization. There is leadership required. There's a lot of public speaking, and you know.
Did you always like to speak on stage?
No, I've never had any professional coaching on any of those. But I think when you're really enjoying something, I just happened to have the right mentors around me and they guided me. Did I ask myself, do I want to actually go into a professional? I wasn't inclined to. I could have, and I know many of my peers have, but I chose not to, and things were going fine. So I was like, okay, you know, I don't need that. I haven't done NLP. A lot of my peers, you know, and I know the value of doing something like NLP. But I was like, no, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm just going to immerse myself doing that. And I learn along the way, of course. So that's what I did. Yeah, over the years, you know, we have taken on coaches, business coaches for different things. The network comes, you know, there are so many people who come in the network who themselves are practitioners. So you build a relationship, you end up using their, you know, services. So we have done that over the years.
Okay.
But no, never had any professional sort of
coaching experience.
No.
But you mentioned about mentors. You had a lot of, who are these mentors? Were they part of BNI in other countries or?
Yeah, they were running successful BNI franchises in other parts of the world.
Okay.
And they stepped up and they said, hey, you know, we are there to support you. We've been through this journey and we'll walk you through and hold your hand as you go along this journey. And that's what we do. So, you know, when I had the opportunity to take this to... So what happened within a few years, I said, okay, having come from East Africa, I want to, you know, take this there. I have a big network there. So I identified a couple of people who would lead on the ground, and then I mentored them. And that's how, you know, the whole thing works, I think, as a team. The concept of the organization is such, in any case, even for members, everybody's helping each other, right?
Yeah, that's the giver's gain.
Yeah.
I remember I had joined BNI briefly in 2014, and I gave up pretty fast. In 3 months, I was out because it's a lot of commitment of time and effort.
It is.
And being an agency owner, I was very short of time.
No,
because we're all constantly, as an agency, or not. It's imagine you having one business. As an agency, we manage multiple businesses for our clients, right? I couldn't juggle two things, and then I had to walk out at the time.
No, so absolutely. Look, I think first and foremost, BNI is not for everybody. I'm not saying it wasn't for you, but also when somebody becomes part of it, it all depends on what phase or stage they're in their journey.
Right.
And you know, I know many members who end up joining because there's a process, there's a vetting and interview process. Right. Each chapter is a committee. We train our committees and make sure, look, don't take anybody and everybody.
Make sure you have the right
make
People
sure
joining the
that
group.
they are in the right phase in their
Journey.
business. Because you can imagine when somebody's new in business or somebody's got multiple things happening in their life and business, and then they have to take on this extra commitment of BNI.
It's not for them.
It may not be, or at least make it very clear to them. And then you got to mentor them as well, right?
Right.
So we need to have a team of people within who can handhold somebody. And, we've made mistakes. We've taken on people on too fast. We might not have infrastructure to support the people we take on.
Yeah.
And we are still going through that journey.
Yeah.
It
Business is always a growing
Absolutely.
process,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So from the first chapter was how many members you mentioned? 30 members, right? The first one when you started
It touched.
back in.
So when we launched it, it was, I think, about 23 members.
Okay.
It's still there today, Falcon
Okay.
chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a limiting belief. People would ask you, okay, so how many members would you guys have in a chapter? And because I'd never experienced or seen a chapter more than 30, I would say 30. And then the chapter never grew more than 30, simply because I had already sort of put a glass ceiling on it.
But doesn't come in your trainings from the original BNI, like how many chapter members should be there? Doesn't it come from the UK already?
Good question, right? So we are told the minimum.
The
and
maximum is up to you.
Yeah, there is no cap.
Right.
There's no cap. Now, if you look at today, the average chapter size over here in the UAE now is 40. Our largest chapter is about just under 90.
Right.
If you go further east, so I'm talking about, Southeast Asian countries, chapters over there tend to be large, 100 plus, easy. If you go to the West, Europe, North America, the average chapter size is still less than 30.
Mm-hmm.
The organization started from there, from the West. It's one out of the US.
Yeah.
And I think the culture of the place then
Matters,
defines, and then again, of course, who's driving this. So our learning, when we were at 30, our members over here said, hold on, all these countries are winning these awards. What are they doing differently? I remember when a group of members came to me and said, listen, Bijay, we're not going to settle for 30, because they correlated size, and it does, the larger the chapter, the more business for everybody. And they said, we want more business. And I said, okay, I could not picture a chapter more than 30. We have an agenda, it's a structure, 90 minutes. But they say, they must be doing something different. I said, okay, let's do this. This was the chapter in Mumbai. And in those days, our weekend was a Friday, Saturday.
Right. Yeah.
And this chapter met on a Friday. So they said it'll be a weekend. Thursday night we'll fly out. We'll visit this chapter on Friday.
Yeah.
We'll be back before, Saturday night.
Yeah.
I said, okay, a group of 5 people went out there. They saw what they were doing out there, came back. So this is our chapter, which for many, many, many years has been the largest chapter. It's called Insomniacs. There were 27 members. We went to Mumbai, saw the whole thing, came back. Within 3 months, from 27, they became a 50-member chapter. Because they saw it, and the glass ceiling was broken. And
you
then
send people from the chapter to go and do the survey and come back. So for you, from first chapter of 23 members to reaching 300 members, when it actually became worthwhile for you to make it as your business or your main career, I would say, how long did it take for you to grow it from 23 to 300?
about 7 years.
7 years. That's a long time.
Very long time.
You have patience. So you continued working, doing
No. We were bleeding. I was tapping in from our savings. It wasn't easy.
So you never gave up hope.
Yeah, because we believed in it. Both Anurad and I, we believed strongly in it. We loved what we did.
So how did you pay the bills? I'm just curious. So
Yeah,
just from
it's not something that I've openly shared, but there were times, we hit our financial low at a point where there was a time where had we continued the way we were, we couldn't have survived. We do have family we can reach out to, but we never did that. There were some tough times, very tough times, and especially in a city like Dubai, So a lot of people ask me, what's the definition of success? And I say, it's perception. So I remember in those days, the outside world would not know what you're going through. You know yourself, and for them, they just look at this whole network and numbers and all of that. And you got to keep up that show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it can be unhealthy, and it's probably not the right thing to do. I think we might have been lucky. We just happened to have a right group of people who stood by us, who knew that, and they did everything to say, okay, what are we going to turn around? We took on a business coach at that time, and we learned some things on how we can actually turn this around.
Okay,
And
business coach outside BNI who will guide you to put the structure to.
And he was somebody who was a member. He started his journey as a member, and he said, Bijay. Now he didn't know our struggles, but he could see what's possible. And he said, I'd love. And he said, I'm not going to charge you. I'm going to do this.
Okay.
You and your team. And I said, yeah.
How did the breakthrough happen? What changed that it clicked?
I think so what was happening was we had a lot of people. So we have a system, we have a structure. There needs to be strong accountability. And because it's a people's business, sometimes it's not easy to set some people free or let them go. You have a team of people who are helping you, who support. So if you look at our structure right now, right? Somebody asks me, how many people do you employ? The model is a very lean model. We'll have a team of 5 people in the office, and we're servicing 1,500 members and growing. So it is a franchise model. So, we've scaled it up through franchising. But a lot of the support that the chapters get are from volunteers from within.
The chapters.
Yeah. So, people see this as a development opportunity for themselves. Each chapter has a leadership team, and that changes every 6 months.
So they serve and they get coached. So that's their...
Correct. That's their person. And the coaching is also, we call it servant leadership. And we don't really formally train them on that. It's hands-on training. We share our experiences. But, why would somebody do that? It is their personal development. They're not getting paid for it. But they take up a role. They love it. After 6 months, somebody else comes on. So they are like filling a vacuum, some of them. So we give them an opportunity to say, listen, how about you support another chapter? We need someone like you who can guide them. So we have a team of what we call direct consultants and ambassadors. So these are the people who do this voluntarily. Do they get paid for it? We give them something, but they're not doing it for that. We want to make sure that their time is taken care of. They can treat themselves to a nice, perhaps, holiday or something with the family for what we give them. But none of them would do this to make a living. They would not survive. They're already successful in their own right in their businesses. So, but we have a great team of these people. Now, when you have this team, and when people are doing this voluntarily, accountability can become a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So we had to learn to say, okay, we appreciate that you're doing this voluntarily, but we still expect certain level of results. We still expect certain deliverables, and if it doesn't happen, then we will have to go. And
accountability. You figured out with business coaching or whatever help that accountability is the problem, which is why you're not crossing
one of the problems. That was one of the, and the other one was just talent, getting the right people on board, because there'll be a lot of people who will step up, who will raise their hand and saying, I want to come on board. Yeah. And, you develop a relationship, and then you got to learn how to say no. So again, if you came up to me and saying, Bijay, I want to do this, I got to find your skill set, where you fit, and then make sure that there's a book, Good to Great by Jim Collins. And this has been around for many, many years. I would strongly recommend this book for anybody in business. It's about how do you take a business which is good to being great. And, it says the biggest thing standing in the way of success is when you settle for mediocrity. Why would you not settle for great when you already have something good happening? A lot of people, think they're happy with good. So complacency sets in.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Jim says is, he starts by asking a question: are people your biggest asset in business? It's a trick question. And, most people say, yeah, people are your biggest asset. And he says, no, they're not. And then he goes on to say, it's the right people. And the learning over there is people, every person will have a skill set, but the trick is making sure you put them in the right seat. Because the biggest mistake we tend to make is bring them on board, we put them in the wrong seat, and then we keep them there. So the moment you identify that so-and-so is not skilled for this, you need to then either move them to the right seat or sometimes you got to set them free. And if you're able to do that, because it costs every time you got the wrong hire. So, when you're recruiting
time
anybody.
and money.
Absolutely. So we learned that.
Yeah.
And we applied that. And today we have an amazing team.
So the problem was the wrong people sitting on the, in a way, on the team who were not
I
letting
take responsibility.
others
I had basically taken on everybody and who wanted to help, which was good. But then the ability to identify, okay, who's got the right skill set? Who can do this? Who would want to do this for the right reasons? Can we have accountability as one of our core values being implemented? So those are many of the things. And then it's a flywheel, right? Once you reach a certain critical mass, it's a flywheel. The momentum picks up and then it's self-propagating.
So from 300 to now 1,400. In the next, how many years? 7 years again? No, 20, so 13 years.
So today we're at 1,400. We're coming to the end of 2024. Beginning of 2023, we were at 900.
That's a big leap.
That was a big leap. I declared a vision when we celebrate our 20 years next year in 2025. Let's have 2,025 members by 2025. Now, it's got a good, spin. But is it possible? And we did the math, and we said, yeah, it absolutely is possible. We have...
This is we, is you and Anuradha, or you and the whole leadership team of all the chapters and everything?
Yeah, you got to enroll them. So, you come up with a vision, but now you got to make sure everybody buys into your vision. And you got to show them how they can do that. And if you break it down, then everybody can see. So you got to be, when you're setting a vision, you got to show each person how and what they need to do in their part to make this big. There's this story about, a big monument or a big building being built, and you got a bricklayer. Now, the mindset of the bricklayer, if the mindset of the bricklayer is, I'm just laying bricks. And Richard Branson does this quite well. I remember reading in one of his books. He was building, Richard Branson. I think everybody knows Richard Branson.
Course.
Necker Island. And in one of his books, he writes, there was an island next to Necker Island which he needed to develop, and it was harsh. There was absolutely nothing there. And he goes up there, and there are a couple of guys who are working, doing the foundation. And he goes up to the person and he says, listen, I really appreciate and value what you're doing, but I just want you to know what you're doing out here. You're not just doing what you're doing. You're part of a big vision. And then he paints that vision. He says, when you're complete with what you do, then another team is going to come in and do another project, and then another team. And in the end, we're going to create this place.
Structure or whatever, yeah.
And when the person doing that buys that, they feel ownership that, right, I'm part of this. I am also part of this person, because without me, this would not be there. So it's creating that. So every person feels, yes.
The vision.
Absolutely.
So your vision is what?
2025, so that's members, but then you take that further. So what does 2025 members do, right? 2025 members. Ultimately, it comes to how much more business everybody can do for themselves. So currently, we are averaging about 150 million dirhams business being done per year.
Okay.
Now, when we break it down per member, what does this mean for each member? On average, we're finding right now a member with our current numbers, on average, can generate about $500,000 dirhams worth of business for themselves in a year. When you grow this, so imagine from the 1,400 we are at, now we just need to grow it by another 30%. The business per member is not going to grow by 30%, it's going to double because there's a whole...
There's a more bigger network.
Exactly. So if every member is generating $1 million dirhams of business, that's the first thing. The second thing is, these are 2,000 businesses out there. And each of them, they employ on average about 10 people, some more, some less. So the impact it has out there, it's not just on 2,000 people or 2,000 members, it's on 20,000 lives and what this is doing to each and every one of those. That's really what...
that's how you communicated the vision to the current members to give them a...
Yeah. Do all
to
members necessarily buy it? Not necessarily, but I think it starts from the top, right? So you need to have your immediate leadership buy into it. And then you got to buy the same thing to your leadership at the chapter level. And the language, understanding where they're coming from. So as far as, the vision of 2025 by 2025 goes, that's like public and it's all over the place. But what that means, we don't articulate it. It's not written anywhere. It comes down to who you're talking to and where. If I am amongst a certain group of people, understanding, what values they've gotten and how they are building the business, I will talk them through. There'll be a group of people who are like, we just want more business. Then I'll just say, okay, this means more business for you. I don't go into this is going to impact so many lives. If you find a group of people
speak the language, who wants to understand the way they understand
the way
what motivates them.
Absolutely, yeah. What inspires them.
On that note, if say there's UAE's like startups, we have got so many entrepreneur startups happening in UAE, and the government is promoting to start a business in this region, making it easy for people. What one advice would you give a startup founder about building their network? Because now, one, you have as a startup, people wear a lot of multiple hats because they try to save cost, which is something one should not, but that's another topic altogether. There's so many different networks to join. For example, there's EO, there's YEO, there are a couple of other community networks, there's Female Fusion, there's BNI. How should one choose where to go, where to start?
Great question.
And there's some more. You also are limited by time.
Yeah.
I have to run my business, and because every network is a responsibility, you have to attend the meetings, build relationships to benefit for each other, right? Yeah. So how do you choose? I'll let you answer it now.
Fantastic question, Amita. So firstly, understanding what is the purpose of each network. There are a lot of networks out there. When I compare to the choice we had 20 years ago and the choice we have today, the choice is huge, which is great. So one is knowing what you want out of the network. I mean, they all call themselves business networks, but you have networks like, if you take BNI, for example, primary objective of BNI is generating referrals and helping members grow their business. Now, when you have a network like a EO or a YPO, these networks are there to provide you with peer-to-peer advisory and support.
Okay, they are more of coaching and support. They're not referral. You're not passing business to each other in those groups.
Now, business networking does happen as a result, but your core objective in these networks is you're going to form a board of advisors or peers who are also going through the same journey as you and learning from each other. And that's also important,
like
right?
a mastermind or something like that.
They have a lot of educational programs. They bring in a lot of speakers. So it's a great place to learn.
To grow,
so if you want to be part of something where we can have development, personal development, leadership development, amazing networks. Then you have knowledge networks. So if you're part of your alumni, from your college, from university, or if you're part of a professional body, if you're in real estate and all realtors, or if you're part of the insurance institute or any of these professional organizations, over there, what you're learning is getting more knowledge about the industry and the trends and what's happening and, keeping in touch. So understanding that each of these networks has a part to play. If you want business and then you end up in one of the other networks, expecting business to come, but it doesn't, because you're also going to have the skill to work your way around to the room and all of that.
Yeah.
So if you know that what each of these networks will bring to the table, then you make sure that you devote the time that you want to for that.
So understand your goals from the network. Understand
Yeah.
what each network offers.
Absolutely.
And then figure out what you need in this part of your business journey.
So I believe that there's no point in being part of 2 or more networks that offer the same objective. So first and foremost, like you said, time. I would say a maximum of 3 different kind of networks,
Okay.
maximum. And then make sure that each of those 3 are different in their objective.
Okay.
But there's no point in being part of take an EO and something else will also do, because then there'll be a sort of a conflict, right? Whether it's business, whether it's learning. So yeah, identifying what each network does, and then work your way. There are organizations, individuals out there, Ascentive, I think you might have heard of.
Bill Bedford.
Phil will teach you how. So again, it requires an investment of time and money, of course, but you can actually do that. There are a lot of books out there which you can pick up and then read and learn how best to do this. And then the best thing is to actually dive in and start doing it. All that you read and you learn in class, you need to apply it, and only through that you'll actually benefit.
Have you been part of any other network apart from BNI, apart from running BNI yourself?
So Phil and I actually started, prior to Ascentive, it was called the Referral Institute.
Oh, so you were part of the...
So yes, we were both founders of that, and then he took it further. The other network that we recently founded is called Corporate Connections,
Right.
which you would say is a blend of a EO and a YPO and a BNI.
Right.
So we offer the best of both worlds. It's the business side of it, there is a personal development side of it, and it's a global network. So that's another one that we've founded and I run with my partner.
Basically you start networking groups. You
Yeah,
don't
I've kind of
join
found
anything.
my calling to be community building. I enjoy that, putting communities together.
Yeah.
So I would love to be part of a mastermind myself. I'm still finding one.
Where you fit in.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
kind
because,
of serves you. Yeah.
We
as a-
said that right at the beginning. I've never been a member.
Yeah.
So I tell our members, one thing you'll never ever take away from yourself. You guys have all been members, and I envy each and every one of you because I've never ever been a member. And the member relationships are totally different. They go out on staycations, they do all sorts of different things. I get invited to different events, and again, being in the position that you're in, sometimes you're obliged to be there to go, and then you go to prioritize, and you got to manage your time. But the relationships, I don't have the same level of relationships
They
that
have
members
with
would
each
have.
other.
Absolutely,
It's true, right? Entrepreneurship is lonely.
it can
Up
be
there.
lonely. Yeah,
Because now this is your business, right? Unlike people who are part of the network.
absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. They say, it's said, listening is one of the most underrated skill when it comes to networking. We all know that. We have to learn to listen to rather than be ready to reply and all of that. But what, according to you, are other underrated skills when it comes to networking that people don't talk about?
From a skill set, so you hit the nail on the road. Listening, it starts with listening. I wouldn't say it's a skill, but it's about mindset. If I can just, what is the other requirement? Having a mindset of wanting to help and give. You got to have that. So what it does then, you couple that with the listening, because when you're listening, the intention is understanding the person, understanding where they're coming from and everything else, and then trying to see how you can help them. And you can only do that if you have listened and understood, right? So you need to couple that with that intention that, right, I want to help this person. Giving meaning helping, providing a solution. And once you get into that mindset of being a solutions provider, you then become a master connector. because you meet people, you listen to them, you understand what their challenges are, you ask them the right questions, and because now you're meeting different people, automatically the dots start connecting. I'm having a conversation with you today. Yesterday night I was at a party. Tomorrow I'll be at another event and I'll meet different people. So one is not to overwhelm yourself by being one of these social butterflies where you go to an event and you say hello to 100 people. Yes, you may know a lot of people, of course, but spending a little bit of time with each and understanding, and not using the event itself to do this. The event is really just to make the connection, but then investing and taking time out
for one-to-one
to do these things.
Connections, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a BNI thing. It's about just meeting people, finding the right connection, and then wanting to help them. And if you do enough of that, then that kind of comes back and
just pays you back. I learned this like as a new business. For example, back in the days in 2000 when I started my agency. When you're a new entrepreneur, young, you're looking for business, right? So I learned it the hard way, and then along the road that when I go to a networking meeting, I'm not there to do business with anyone. I'm just here to see the vibe and see whose vibe I get attracted to. Just have a conversation, just hello. Even if that meeting or that networking event doesn't make me meet anyone, it's fine. And whatever few cards I exchange, I go back and drop an hello and maybe put them in my mailing list so they keep hearing back from me. And then in some time, we build up, maybe invite them for a podcast or take them out for a coffee and then build it on there.
Absolutely. So it's also understanding it takes time, right?
It takes time.
But you asked about, the other skills. I talked about mindset. Now, mindset, that's not a skill. That's just a mindset.
Intention,
But talking about skill, the ability to learn how to articulate your questions. Because when you're listening, of course, the other person is doing most of the talking, but it's about the right questions. If you ask the right question, then you'll get,
the right replies.
And then listening becomes fun.
So what 3 questions you suggest we ask when we go for networking?
It all depends on, so you got to have, so the ability to understand the person's, from the body language also, you'll kind of learn a lot. Because some questions can be a bit more personal, and you get to know, can you ask this question? And you can't ask the same question to everybody. I'll tell you what my favorite questions tend to be. A question which is easy, which if I'm meeting somebody for the very first time at an event, and if it happens to be a business or networking event, would be, so what brings you here? Just understanding. Tell me more about that.
What would they say? It's a networking event. What brings you here?
So some people say, I'm here to meet lots of people. I'm here to learn more about, or I've heard more about the speaker, and so it then allows you to then lead on to the next thing. It's a very simple, basic question, and it could go any direction. But it's an icebreaker to then lead on to the next bit of the conversation. When you want to find out what they do professionally, a lot of people just say, so what do you do? Or people tend to exchange business cards and then they try and... but, the question I ask is, so what's your core expertise? Or what problems do you solve for others? Because when you ask somebody what they do business-wise, they're solving problems, the product or service they're offering.
All businesses.
But not many people know how to articulate that. I mean, if you take an accountant and you ask him, what do you do? And he'll say, I'm an accountant. Instead of asking him what you do, if you ask an accountant, so what problem do you solve for your clients? He may not say I'm an accountant. He may or may not, but then he'll start going into the detail of, well, these days we have a lot of, requirement for tax and all of that, and that's how I'm helping my clients. So that's another question I ask. And the
what problem do you solve?
What problem do you solve for your clients or your customers? So either what problem do you solve, or what problem does your business solve?
Okay.
And the third one that I like asking, and that's where I've gotten a bit comfortable and I think I can ask the question, what are the biggest challenges that you're facing right now? And it could be a professional challenge, it could be a personal challenge. And what I'm trying to see over there is is there somebody I can refer them to help them
Connect
with that,
them.
right? But that's more personal. So I need to build to rapport to be able to ask that question.
Interesting. That's the 3 questions you can now ask in the next networking meeting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think? I'm almost, I have 2 more questions for you. One is, what do you think is the biggest challenge businesses in UAE face when they're trying to scale? Because you work with, or you are surrounded by so many businesses in your network. Where do they get stuck when they're trying to scale? Because it's not just about sales, right? It's much more than just bringing in more business.
Scaling, I think, I would imagine it obviously depends on the type of business it is, but it's having the right infrastructure. I'll give you an example how we scaled. One of the early mistakes that we did was trying to do everything ourselves. So you need to make sure that, all the different things that require, so you need to have people or resources that can
Invest
do that.
in team to delegate
Yeah.
the
So
right
it could be
responsibilities.
absolutely. So building a team. And the sooner you do that, and then that requires a skill set to be able to delegate and lead that team. Sometimes there could be some things that you can't afford. Your budget would not allow you to take on, person on, but then you can outsource. So the beauty about the UAE is so many services can be outsourced, right?
Yeah.
So identifying people who would do this,
Help.
obviously you're going to have to do your research to make sure you find, because again, there's so many people out there. So networking also helps in that. When you have the right network, it's asking, through your network, who are the best and what is the best way to do this. But I think building infrastructure, which means building a team or having, the systems in place, because scaling is being able to also have the capacity to deliver, the capacity and the capability. If tomorrow you're flooded by, say, 100 calls, you'd love that, but then
I don't have the capacity to serve them.
so making sure your capacity is
Yeah.
always there.
But then on the other side, if you do receive 100 calls, you can quickly build up the team to serve as
Yeah.
many as you can.
But you need to be ready.
Which situation is better? No calls or 100 calls, or maybe in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, look, and I don't know the answer to that. But, again, the people who say, never say no, say yes, and then figure out how you're going to do that.
Yeah.
But in order for you to figure that out, you're going to have to be resourceful. So that's where networking comes in again, right? If you have the network, then you can just make the calls to find out more. But if you're sitting in a cave, you may be the most intelligent person, you know everything. But if you haven't got a network, the network is your true wealth. Because when you receive those calls, when you receive that, how are you going to do that? You're going to have to reach out to people. As human beings, I face, and even today I face, and I think men probably more than women, asking for help. I think learning how to ask for help is so important, and accepting help. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's great. But we hold back. We are like, no.
Because we feel it's going to make us look weak
Yeah, possibly. Absolutely.
or
Especially
unknowledgeable or not being able to find out ourselves.
Many of these things. I think allowing yourself to be vulnerable is so important.
Yeah.
Of course, can you be vulnerable in front of everybody? No. So again, you need to have a group of people that you can, when I'm talking to people and recruiting people, I want to understand more about how they deal with situations. So I want to know who is their network when they want to go for problem solving, who is their network or the go-to person when they need to they just need moral support, nothing else. They're not looking for advice. They're not looking they just want a shoulder to cry on, for example. Or who is that person you go to when you want to just vent out?
Yeah.
And I think all of us need to have each of those individuals, right?
Most of the time, they are part of the family members. No, you have
They
a
could be.
husband, you have mom, you have your friends to
And
vent
that's
out
okay.
to,
That's okay.
or your dad. Yeah.
But not everybody does, Not everybody
Yeah.
does.
A lot of time I hear we only talk about your business all the time.
Yeah.
So
You got to take that more seriously. Then.
yeah, If you weren't leading BNI, what would you be doing,
I
Bijay?
wonder. I was asked the same question. We were in Hawaii for a global convention, and each of us, we had exactly the same question. Each of us BNI leaders, and I struggled. I was like, I have no idea what I'd do. I'd probably be in some sort of a coaching or mentoring sort of role.
You enjoy that.
I love that. I've always liked teaching.
But you discovered when you entered BNI. Imagine
Yeah.
this didn't happen to you.
Yeah.
And you had come to Dubai and you joined the advisory firm, the financial firm.
I wouldn't have lasted. No. I probably would have found myself in that line, but then the role would be more about teaching others. I've always found myself doing that, along my life, even in school and throughout that. So a lot of people end up coming to me asking, and community, I like to be in the center of community and helping people and solving problems. Would I be leading a community? Not necessarily, but I'll be part of that where I'm the kind of one of the spokes helping people and
You come
connecting
from
people.
large family?
I
like
do.
you guys have.
I do, yeah.
It happens when you have a large family. You kind of be more comfortable when you have so many.
Correct. So I've been very fortunate, very blessed to come from a very large extended family. So surrounded by other individuals. So, when I look at some of my mentors, my uncles and some of my aunts, community building, philanthropy also plays a part into that. Yeah.
I hear you mentioned reference quite a few books. So this is an added question. What book are you reading now, and any book you would recommend, your favorite book?
So Good to Great, definitely. Absolute is my absolute best, there are a number of different books.
Are you reading something particular now? Not so
No.
much.
I'm at a phase where I'm not reading books. And, I'm not able to read a full book anymore. These days with digital, you have snippets and you sort of, or even attending. There was a time when I would attend a lot of different seminars and programs. But I'll tell you the book which actually I feel has made a big shift for me in my life. And again, it's a book which has been out there. Everybody's heard of, I think, Tony Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
So Awakening the Giant Within. I picked it out of a bookshelf not knowing what this was all about. And big fat book. And I got into it at the age of, I think, about 19 or 20. Word to word. And it resonated with so much. So I think a certain transformation happened at that stage. I read that book
At a
again.
very early age for Awaken the Giant Within.
Yeah.
No?
I was lucky. So our family, it's family businesses books.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you were surrounded by books.
I'm surrounded by books. Later, I think I must have been about 27 or 28. I read it again. And again, I was able to, so I could sort of reflect back the first time I read it and the journey I'd gone through. After that, I've struggled. If you ask me today, I have the book. I gifted it to my son, Aryan, who's 17, because I want him to experience the same. He yet hasn't done it. But it's not easy for me to get back into that book yet, after done it twice. The other book by Marshall Goldsmith, I think, again, very popular here in Dubai. What got you here will not got you there. How you need to change things. I think that's been a big one for me. These are not all books that I'm reading right now, but I've read, and they sit on my shelf, reminding me of the learnings from each of those.
Awesome. Thank you, Bijay. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Everybody knows you. How can people, if people want to join BNI or reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? Maybe you can share with them.
Thank you, Namita. So the BNI, it's bni.ae or bni.com. That's our website. You can follow me on Insta, BJ BNI. That's my handle on Instagram.
BNI is around BJ everywhere.
Yeah, BJ. Some people say, BNI might standing for BJ's something. No, it's Business Network International. LinkedIn, look me up on LinkedIn. You can find me, and you can reach out to me and any of those social media handles. I'm fairly active on social media, and the website will have all the details of how you can reach us as well.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. If you have any questions from BJ, feel free to ask in the comments from any platform you're listening on. Until next time.